everything will come from my personal experience and observation of the world. But all of my work usually focus more on what women's identity, whether it's from a historical, cultural background or social issue. But I think woman is always the main focus of my research because I want to empower women's identity with my fashion narrative. I was born and raised as a Chinese in Spain, and I had the chance to be immersed in the very different art aesthetics and values from both Spain and China, from the east to the west. So I got my interest really much into fine art. And then as I grew up, I realized that fashion could be a way of applying art onto the human body. So that's why I chose this career and decided to go further on it. The cross-cultural background really has broadened my view about different perspectives from people. Being a globalized second generation, we really have that identity that is very multiple, and that makes our work also being very diverse. I often feel that when I change like different places to live, like from Spain to China and then to New York, and the first question I get to ask, where are you from? And I think it's a very hard question for like people like me to answer, because that's why I named my collection In Transient. I think like all of the second generation immigration children, they all have that impermanent status in life, and our identity is often being questioned and being blurred. And I think that's what makes us unique and have a very special voice to talk about ourselves. Actually, this is a collaborative collection between fashion and performance and film. And I work collaboratively with a fine artist friend of me based in London. Her name is Kathy Mo. And both of us, we were born in the same kind of background as Chinese immigrants in Europe. So we thought of creating this community voice, researching our parents' experience as the first generation moving to Europe during the 80s and 90s in that immigration wave. Yeah, and we realized that our work could really explore further on the women's identity in that community, because women labor was our specific focus. Identity now is a keyword for a lot of people in the art industry and even the designer. We are individuals and we want to speak for ourselves with our work. So yes, but then also apart from that, apart from exploring our own identity, we're looking for the identity of our community too, which is, in this case, this collection, I'm working on the woman's identity in this community. Because I feel women labor in the immigrant families are all often being overlooked and being invisible. Their labor is often being forgotten by the family. I did a research on the woman and this cross-cultural background for Chinese women in Europe, and the report shows that a woman's gender role is often being secondary or hidden in the family systems, because the first Chinese that go to the Western world, they often open their own family entrepreneur, for example, Chinese restaurants or shops. And women had to take the role both as a mother and as a entrepreneur woman. So I think their roles are very important to the family systems, but they are often being more like secondary when the husband is like the dominant part of the family. I'm talking about, of course, the 80s and 90s. I think today it has changed a lot for more like individual women that are chasing their own careers. So I was focusing more on that specific time era of the immigration wave. But I think today has changed a lot, both in China and in the immigrants in Europe too. And I think women now are more empowered by their work and their social status. Because I think all the Chinese students now are studying more abroad than before. So there's actually a tendency that more Chinese students are now like emerging from this industry. However, since it is still a very recent change, the older Chinese fashion industry I think still remains unnoticed in the Western world because China just opened to this market, and it's a very brand new market to the US or the European world. Yeah.
So you think it takes time?
It takes time, but it's definitely growing a lot. And I think, including myself and all my talented friends, they are all like making this push to like speak for the Chinese designers. Yes.